And we'll begin our work on this common ground, taking up measures to develop North American energy, restore the hours of middle-class workers, and help small businesses hire more of our veterans. Then we'll invite the President to support and sign these bipartisan initiatives into law. It'll be a good start, and more.
That was House Speaker John Boehner Tuesday promising to focus on common ground legislation as the 114th Congress begins its work, with Republicans assuming control of both houses for the first time in 8 years. But with conservatives mounting a challenge to his leadership this week and President Obama already issuing 3 veto threats, are we looking at more partisan gridlock and GOP infighting as Washington gets back to business? Let's ask Potomac Watch columnist Kim Strassel, political diary editor Jason Riley, and assistant editorial page editor James Freeman. So, Kim, let's talk first about the challenge to the Speaker. 25 votes, a lot of votes against the Speaker, I think it was, in the end. What point were these rebels trying to make?
Look, I mean, yes, there were 25 votes. On the other hand, there were always 200 members of the Republican Party in the House that were always going to vote for the Speaker. And there wasn't really a candidate who was gripping anyone's imagination. So this was never going to be much more than a sideshow. But the point they were trying to make is that they feel John Boehner has not been aggressive enough in putting the test to Barack Obama. And it does portend his biggest challenge going forward, which is going to be managing his own caucus.
Well, is this signal more Republican disorder to come, even with their fortified ranks of additional, I think, 14 seats or so? Is this more trouble to come?
Well, getting those extra 14 seats does give Boehner some leeway in that he doesn't have to get all of those rebels every time he has a vote. But I think it does go back to why he is going to focus, as he said, these first 6 weeks in particular on issues that do tend to have a lot of unanimity, not just among the Republican ranks, but there are a lot of Democrats who support those bills as well, too.
Good early sign this week of unity on a couple of bills, including one to change the rules of Obamacare to allow movement from a 30-hour week defining full-time employment to 40, which would help low-wage workers and companies that employ them. How do you see this intra-GOP fighting?
Well, I think this is what is going to unify them, and is what is going to even pull some Democratic votes and put pressure on Barack Obama, is sending him bills, getting rid of the least popular pieces of Obamacare, getting rid of the pieces of Obamacare that inhibit job creation, sending him economic growth packages that he then has to either veto or sign.
So you think that's going to unify the Republican Party in the conference?
Yeah, but I think this was an ugly win for John Boehner. I mean, losing a couple dozen votes in your own party when there's really no organized opposition, this is not a sign of strength for him, but I think you would hope what it does for him is makes him listen a little bit more maybe to conservatives as they press. But I think for conservatives, I think they also have an idea here that their White House is still occupied by Barack Obama, and you need to achieve what you can.
You take this challenge to Boehner seriously, Jason?
Well, it is what it is. I mean, as you said, but
it was purely symbolic, and it didn't accomplish a thing.
And the people that were running to replace him were not serious contenders. If he was facing a serious challenge, we would have seen someone like Jeb Hensarling or someone like Paul Ryan going for the speakership. That is not the caliber of candidate that we saw coming out of this. Plus, as it's been noted, the Republicans picked up 14 seats. They have their largest majority in the House in nearly 80 years. Voters seem to like the job that John Boehner's doing.
So what about the president's response here, Jason? I mean, he's now issued 3 veto threats already, one against the Keystone Pipeline approval rate, one against the 40-hour work week thing we mentioned, and one against another jobs bill. This is the first week. What does this tell you about his political strategy?
Well, he's counting on infighting among Republicans. I don't think they should reward him by doing that. But I don't think this can last. And I think the pressure is going to come from Barack Obama's own caucus. This is a president that has lost his party, both the House and the Senate.
But what kind of pressure? From the left and saying don't give an inch, or from moderates saying we want to do business with Republicans?
Both. Well, I think mostly, though, from the latter. You're going to have, we have a presidential election coming up in 2 years. They do not want this president to go out of office with low approval ratings. That will not help for a Democrat to succeed him. And they are going to put pressure on him to rack up some accomplishments. And it's very hard to paint Republicans as obstructionists when they keep putting bills on your desk. And that's what I think Boehner and McConnell should continue to do.
I am not sure I agree with Jason about that. I think because I think the president himself really is signaling that he's going to make it very, very hard on Republicans. And I think that in the Democratic left may just decide, look, we don't want anything to, we want as little as possible to pass.
I think the president wants as little as possible to pass, and that was what was behind these veto threats, is that he was trying to send a message to Democrats: don't work with Republicans, don't go down that road, because I'm going to send these bills back to you anyway. But that's the pressure he's going to face. Look, there are a lot of Democrats who felt as though in this last election they did not have any accomplishments to run on because nothing had happened in Congress for a long time. There is going to be a huge pull for some of them to work with Republicans on this stuff, and you saw it this week. That 40-hour work week bill in the House, you had a dozen House Democrats sign on to. There are 6 Democratic senators who are already co-sponsors of the Keystone bill, possibly 10 votes there. That's what the president's worried about.
Okay, we're going to follow this.